The two remaining undefeated YouTube boxers are bound to go head to head. Jake Paul is officially 2-0 in boxing fights, but technically he beat Deji, KSI's younger brother as well, even though that wasn't a sanctioned fight. The same could be said for KSI, who beat Logan in their second fight, although it was their first and only sanctioned boxing match. The first time the two faced off, they had headgear on and it just wasn't the real deal. So naturally, the two families have had some bad blood, with each brother being victorious over the other, and the only remaining fight to be had would be KSI versus Jake. They both alluded to the possibility of it happening, with Jake calling KSI out multiple times, and the latter taking to Twitter following Jake's most recent fight, saying he wasn't all that impressed. It seems this one is not so much an if as it is a when. Although it appears Jake is a little more serious about his boxing career than KSI is, it seems nothing would make KSI happier than to not only beat Logan, but Jake as well, especially with the amount of trash talk the kid is known to talk. It would definitely be one hell of a fight, so today we're asking, what if Jake Paul fought KSI? Before we jump into it, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, as it really increases the odds of this fight happening. You never know, it won't, but just like it anyways. So KSI versus Jake, it's bound to happen. Odds are this is the next YouTube boxing match that we see, assuming both Jake and KSI agree to terms. Originally, it was going to be Jake versus KSI until Logan stepped in for his younger brother, which inevitably led to KSI's younger brother, Deji, to get into a dispute with Jake. It was a picture-perfect night, with the two older brothers headlining, and the younger brothers being the final fight before the two square off. As you likely know, KSI and Logan would go on to fight a second time, but things got a little more intense as neither party was wearing headgear, and things became official, with their second bout being a sanctioned boxing match. Jake would end up fighting Edinson Gibb, who he would easily take care of, which was also both of their first sanctioned boxing matches. And following his win, Jake got into KSI's face and told him he's next. Jake also made sure to let KSI know he didn't really beat his brother Logan, because the win was based on a 2-point differential. KSI laughed in his face, and then the two got separated. Prior to taking on Nate Robinson, Jake was also asked on Instagram when his next fight would be. His response was, I quote, "After quarantine, Jake Paul versus KSI, Madison Square Garden." Jake posted that back in May, which obviously never came to fruition, as he would go on to fight Nate Robinson, which he would surprisingly win fairly easily. Of course, Jake has since gone on to call out a handful of people, including not only KSI and his older brother Logan, but even professional fighters such as Dylan Dennis and Conor McGregor. It seems the biggest money fight is against McGregor, who is undoubtedly one of the biggest names in the fight world currently. That being said, Conor may not have much or any interest in fighting Paul, as he could likely make a similar amount of money fighting another professional fighter without getting dragged into Paul's games and the world of YouTube, something Conor likely has no interest in doing. Compared to what Conor does for a living, boxing a YouTuber who's trying to make a name for himself in the community, it just ain't it. So it seems KSI versus Jake is actually incredibly likely, and will probably be Jake's next fight, assuming they both sign on. So what happens if they do fight? First things first, the rivalry between these two families will likely heat up again. Logan and Jake would start clowning on KSI, and he would do the exact same to them. Jake may even bring KSI's brother, Deji, into the mix by reminding them of what happened the last time Jake fought the family. However, KSI could deliver the same chirp back, as he beat Logan twice. Either way, all the creators would have plenty of content to showcase their skills, both as entertainers and boxers. The trash talking would be absolutely glorious, and given Jake's most recent victory, it's quite possible that this fight becomes the biggest YouTube boxing event in history, surpassing the numbers that Logan and KSI did. One thing is certain, both Jake and KSI would pocket a lot of money for the fight, with a guaranteed purse up front and likely some back-end points on the pay-per-view. They'd also make so much money off of their YouTube videos promoting the fight and notoriety, which could potentially lead to them getting even more lucrative sponsorship deals. All in all, their bank accounts would continue getting much bigger. Now, where the fight happens is a big question mark. The world is still dealing with COVID, and depending on which country would be able to get a handle on the spread first, either England or the United States, that would probably indicate where the fight takes place. Although the money would be in the pay-per-view, they would also likely want to sell physical tickets as well, only to help increase the profits everyone would be making off of the fight. In regards to how the fight plays out, well, that's a very interesting one, and I certainly couldn't predict it. Truth be told, it seemed evident that Logan was the better boxer and athlete than KSI, yet still, he couldn't secure the victory. And even though KSI did win by a judge's scorecard, a controversial shot to the back of the head is believed to be the main reason why Logan lost. Now, regardless of how you feel about their fight, one thing is certain. No one likes a decision. We want to see a knockout, that's why we're watching a fight. And I think if Jake or KSI were to fight, one of them would get knocked out. Jake does have the advantage, as he's now fought in 2 sanctioned fights, one of them being against a former professional athlete. KSI has only fought Logan once in a sanctioned fight, which makes him a little more inexperienced. Aside from that, depending on where the fight were to happen, could also determine who has the edge. It's been over a year since KSI has been in the ring, whereas Jake fought literally just weeks ago. In a sense, Jake would have a year of experience and preparation that KSI literally would not have. Considering how Jake has been training to fight since May or so, if the two decided to agree to a fight in, say, I don't know, August 2021, then Jake would be able to train for over a year straight leading up to the fight. KSI, on the other hand, would have maybe half the amount of time to get up to speed and really curate his skills as a boxer. However, the major advantage Jake had over Nate that he wouldn't have over KSI would be his size and reach. Jake stands 6'1" and came in at 189 pounds for his fight against Nate, who at 5'9" and 181 pounds was certainly at a disadvantage from the start. KSI on the other hand is 6 foot tall and fought Logan at 193 pounds in their second fight. In regards to reach, KSI has a reach of 76 inches, which is the same as Jake. Nate had a reach of 70 inches, which made it quite easy for Jake to keep his distance, not get hit, while also ensuring he landed shots on Nate. But if Jake and KSI went head to head, that same tactic wouldn't work, which could make things much more difficult for Jake. Come to think of it, it seems that Jake and KSI fought, this matchup would actually be much more even than the Nate and Jake fight. Although Nate was a pro athlete at one point, Jake had the advantage when it came to his height, weight, reach, and even boxing experience. KSI on the other hand is much closer in all the physical stats, and has been in the boxing ring numerous times. Although majority weren't sanctioned, some experience is better than none. At the end of the day, if these two fight, I can guarantee a rematch takes place. When the money is there, both parties are usually on board to fight a second time around. When the money is there and the losing fighter feels he has something to prove, either because he uses an excuse as to why he lost, or he even feels he was cheated, well, there's even more reason to fight. And the best part of a rematch is that if the fighter who lost the first fight wins the second, well then we got ourselves a trilogy. Assuming KSI and Jake were able to bring in more money than either of the KSI and Logan fights, a rematch would be a no-brainer. If the two fighters were to split the first two bouts, then a trilogy would almost be next to guaranteed, as not only would the money be there for both of them, but the fighters would want to prove which one truly is the better man. And depending on how their fights pan out, will definitely determine both of their careers moving forward in the boxing world. KSI doesn't seem as invested as Jake, but if he were to win against Jake twice, making his professional boxing record an undefeated 3-0, well then maybe he starts to take things a little more seriously. Jake on the other hand has made it extremely clear he's committed to the sport, and even though most think he's just some arrogant YouTuber who's trying to make a joke of boxing, well I think he's serious about this. Maybe he's an idiot for calling out the likes of Conor McGregor, who probably doesn't even know who Jake Paul is, but it seems quite clear that Jake wants to make a career or part of a career out of boxing. And if he were to win both of his fights against KSI, assuming they had a rematch after the first bout, this would give Jake a record of 4-0. And it would only make him that much more arrogant, as well as more watchable. Love him or hate him, the next time Jake fights, people are going to watch. Either to support him, or in hopes of watching the kid get knocked out. Regardless of why you're watching, I doubt Jake cares, as it just fills his pockets with more cash. So to wrap this one up, if Jake Paul and KSI were to go head to head, regardless of the outcome of the first fight, it seems a second fight would be bound to happen, at the request of the losing fighter. Same thing happened with Logan and KSI. And if the losing fighter were to lose that second fight, then this rivalry would be over. But if the fighters were to split the first two matches, a third fight is inevitable. And win or lose between all the fights, both Jake and KSI would easily make a few $1,000,000 each, while having a ton of content to create surrounding the fight. The winning fighter would also likely pursue a career in boxing more seriously than they currently are, and the loser may call it quits for good. We'll just have to wait and see. Now as always, I want to hear from you guys. If these two do end up fighting, who do you think wins? Let me know down below. For now, let's do some comment replies from the video. What if Donald Trump wins the 2024 presidential election? Jesse Torres said, imagine how many emerging Republicans who were planning on running in 2024 are secretly pissed at Trump behind the scenes. Yes, I can't imagine, because I'm sure there's a lot of them that thought, okay, he lost this one, he's out of politics, he's done. Maybe he doesn't run 2024, maybe he does, really who knows. One thing is for sure, obviously the Republican Party likes him for the most part, so if he does run in 2024, odds are he will get nominated to run, or be, I guess, elected to be the leader of the Republican Party to run for president. As, you know, an up-and-coming Republican, I would understand why he'd be a little upset, being like, this is my chance now. So I get it. Gotta wait and see. He may just step out of politics altogether. Who knows, right? King GB said, Biden is 78, so why can't Trump run when he is 78? LOL. It's not that he can't, it's like, I've been saying this all along, guys. I think it's awful that Biden's 78. Not awful, I mean, you know, I wish him all the best in his health and stuff, but that's old to run a country, guys. In the United States, 65 is considered retirement. That's when you get like a discount. So why a man 13 years past the retirement age is now running the country? That's on you guys. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. That's you know, you guys dropped the ball there. Cam's channel said it's gonna be a war in the comments, I could tell. Usually is. Anything political, anything with Trump's name in it. But even Biden, because we did a video about Biden, I think it was like, what if Biden passes away? And a lot of the comments were very political and, you know, war-like. So, you know, that's always fun. Anyways, guys, I've been your host, Jared Bronstein. I'm interested in seeing what you guys have to say about this one, so let me know in the comments down below, and we'll see you soon.